Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, where we uncover the hidden treasures that most people overlook in their pocket change. Today, we're diving into the world of Jefferson Nickels. And let me tell you, some of these humble 5-cent coins have sold for shocking amounts at real auctions, turning what seems like ordinary change into life-changing finds. If you love uncovering coin secrets and rare finds, make sure to subscribe here so you never miss the next big discovery. First up, we have the 1943 Jefferson Nickel, and this one is no ordinary 5-cent piece. Struck during the height of World War II, this coin was made out of a special wartime alloy 35% silver, along with copper and manganese. The US Mint removed nickel from its composition because nickel metal was desperately needed for the war effort, especially in armor and weaponry. That alone makes it a historic coin, but the values some of these pieces have reached at auction are nothing short of shocking. Now, the coin you see here shows plenty of wear. The portrait of Thomas Jefferson has flattened details, and the Monticello on the reverse has lost its sharpness after decades of circulation. In this circulated condition, it's still worth more than face value thanks to its silver content, often selling for around $2 to $5 each. But here's where it gets exciting. If you find one of these in uncirculated condition, the value skyrockets. An MS66 example can fetch $200 to $400, and when you step up into MS67, we're talking about coins that have sold for $3,000 to $5,000, and yes, a few pristine 1943 nickels have crossed the $10,000 mark at major auctions, but the real shock value comes from errors. The 1943 nickels are known for double die-up verses, where the lettering "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" shows doubling. Some of these errors are subtle, but when bold examples turn up, they've sold for as much as $10,000 to $15,000. Then there are repunched mint marks, where the large mint mark above Monticello looks like it was struck more than once. Collectors prize these and high-grade examples with dramatic repunching can bring in $1,000 to $2,500 easily. Even rarer are full-step nickels coins, where the steps of Monticello on the reverse are fully visible and unbroken. Because of the way these coins were struck, most nickels from this period don't show sharp details. Finding one with full steps in gem condition is like striking gold. A 1/9 for 3p full-step Jefferson Nickel graded MS67 sold for an incredible $15,275 at auction, proving just how far collectors will go for perfection. Think about it for a moment. A nickel that most people spent without a second thought during the 1940s. A coin many of us might still find in change or tucked in old jars, could now be worth thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands, if the right combination of condition and error is there. That's the kind of discovery that makes coin collecting so thrilling. This coin also carries with it the weight of history. It isn't just about silver content or errors. It's a reminder of a time when the entire nation sacrificed for victory in World War II, even down to the composition of its coins. Every 1943 Jefferson nickel tells a story of that moment, and owning one is like holding a piece of living history. So, take a closer look at any 1943 nickels you come across. Don't dismiss them as pocket change. Look at the mint mark above Monticello, check for doubling, and examine the steps carefully. Because while most are worth just a few dollars, the rarest and finest examples can change hands for sums that will leave you stunned. And this is only the beginning. If you thought a wartime nickel could surprise you, just wait until you see the next Jefferson nickel we're about to uncover. The values climb even higher, and the stories only get better. Next up, we have a Jefferson nickel that looks like it's been through quite a journey. The 1985D. At first glance, you'll notice the heavy toning and corrosion on the surface. While to some collectors this might seem like damage, others see it as history written right onto the coin. The mottled mix of brown, orange, and green oxidation tells us this nickel has likely spent decades in circulation, tucked away in damp environments, or even buried before being rediscovered. For older US coin enthusiasts, this worn and weathered look makes the story of the coin all the more fascinating. Asterisk the obverse still shows Thomas Jefferson's profile, though much of the fine detail is hidden under layers of age and wear. The word Liberty and the date 1985 remain readable, and the small D mint mark below confirms that this nickel was struck in Denver. The reverse with Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, also carries heavy corrosion. Some of the architectural lines are muted, but you can still see the outline of the dome and columns. Despite its condition, coins like this can actually spark excitement because rare errors or unique toning patterns can set them apart from millions of ordinary nickels minted that year. Asterisk now. Let's talk numbers because this is where things get truly interesting. In average circulated condition, a 1985D nickel is often worth just a few cents above face value. But collectors don't chase ordinary, they chase perfection, rarity, and uniqueness. In high-end circulated condition, with sharp details and brilliant luster, a 1985D nickel can surprise you. Auction results show that pristine examples graded ME66 and higher have sold for anywhere from a few $100s to nearly $5,000, depending on eye appeal and strike quality. That's right, a common pocket change coin suddenly becomes a small fortune when preserved in the right condition. Asterisk error varieties can also skyrocket values. Imagine spotting a misaligned die strike, an off-center strike, or a double die error on this year. Even in a less than perfect state, those errors can fetch hundreds or even thousands at auction. For example, one dramatic off-center strike from the 1980s sold for over $4,500 because of its rarity and sharp visibility. That's the kind of shocking number that gets collectors scrambling to check their jars of nickels. Asterisk. And here's something important to note. While many overlook 1980s nickels because they're seen as too modern to be valuable, the opposite is happening in the collector market. As decades pass, fewer high-grade examples remain, and that scarcity drives prices higher. So even if you find a circulated 1985D like this one, it's worth taking a closer look. Who knows? Beneath the corrosion and toning, you might discover an overlooked gem with incredible potential. Asterisk. So the lesson here is simple. Never ignore the nickels in your pocket or change jar, even the ones that look rough, because sometimes the ugliest coin hides the biggest surprise. And remember, we're just getting started. If you thought this 1985D had some shocking potential, wait until you see the next Jefferson nickel on our list. It might just blow your mind with values climbing into the six-figure range. Moving on, here we have a 1960 for Jefferson Nickel, and at first glance, you can see the heavy circulation, wear, and natural patina that time has left on this coin. 1964 was the final year the US Mint struck nickels in enormous quantities before cutting production back, making it one of the most common dates in the series. Over 2 billion were minted, so at first, it seems like an ordinary coin. But here's the twist: hidden among these billions are certain error strikes and rare conditions that can make a simple nickel worth thousands. Asterisk. Collectors search for varieties like the 1960 for double die reverse, where the word Monticello or 5 cents shows clear doubling under magnification. Even more exciting are full steps examples on the Monticello building, which means every line of the steps is sharply defined without wear. These are extremely scarce because the dies often wore down quickly, and striking pressure wasn't always strong enough. In Hyman State with full steps, a 1960 for nickel has fetched over $15,000 at auction. That's a jaw-dropping price for something you might think is just pocket change. Asterisk. Now, the example we're looking at today shows heavy wear and oxidation, meaning it's circulated for decades. But that doesn't mean it has no story. For older coins like this, condition isn't the only factor. Mint errors like off-center strikes, die breaks, and even clipped plankets from 1960 for nickels have sold for shocking amounts, sometimes $5,000 to $25,000 depending on the severity of the error and how visible it is. Even a small misalignment can skyrocket value if a collector is hunting for that exact rarity. Asterisk, think about this. A nickel struck for everyday use in 1964, carried in the pockets of Americans during the height of the civil rights movement and the early years of the Vietnam War, can now be a prized collectible. That blend of history and scarcity is what makes coins like this irresistible to collectors. Asterisk, so if you come across a 1960 for Jefferson Nickel, don't just toss it aside. Check the steps on Monticello. Look closely for doubling or minting errors. And if you happen to find one in uncirculated condition with those perfect full steps, you might be holding a small piece of metal worth more than a brand new car. Asterisk, before we reveal the next Jefferson Nickel, remember these treasures hide in plain sight. If you've ever found an old nickel in your change jar or inherited a batch from family, go through them carefully. And don't forget subscribe here so you don't miss the next coin, because the values only get more shocking from here. Next up, we have a 1995 Jefferson Nickel, and at first glance, the corrosion and heavy surface wear on this coin might make you think it's nothing more than pocket change past its prime. But here's the surprise: this particular date and mint mark hides some fascinating varieties and error possibilities that can turn a coin like this into a small fortune. Asterisk. 1995 nickels were struck in large numbers at the Philadelphia Mint, but collectors pay special attention to this year because of notable double die varieties. On some examples, the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" show strong doubling, which immediately boosts the value into hundreds or even thousands depending on the grade. There are also off-center strikes, broad strikes, and misaligned die errors from this year that can push the price of a nickel far beyond face value. Imagine a 1995 nickel with just 5 or 10% of the design missing due to an off-center strike hit could bring in over $5,000 at auction. Asterisk. Even more astonishing are coins that escape the mint struck on the wrong planchet. A few 1995 Jefferson Nickels are known to exist on clad dime or foreign coin blanks. Those oddities, when authenticated, have fetched upwards of $20,000 or more. And here's the kicker: these coins often turn up in circulation, disguised under wear and tear, just like the one we're looking at now. Asterisk. The example in front of us shows heavy corrosion and discoloration, with green and reddish patina eating into the surface. While that lures collector interest in average condition, it doesn't erase the chance of hidden rarity. That's the beauty of coin hunting under all that damage. This could still be an error coin, and if it is, the value jumps into shocking territory. Asterisk. To put this in perspective, high-grade 1995 nickels with full steps on Monticello, meaning the steps are sharp and complete without wear, have sold for over $10,000. Combine that with a dramatic mint error, and suddenly, this 5-cent coin becomes a 5-figure collectible. Asterisk. So the lesson here is clear: never underestimate a Jefferson Nickel, even one that looks like it's been through decades of circulation. Check for doubling, study the steps, and always keep an eye out for oddities, because that corroded 1995 piece sitting in your change jar be worth more than you ever dreamed. Last up, we have a 2000 Jefferson Nickel. And while at first glance it looks extremely worn with most of its details faded, don't let the condition fool you. This date has shocked collectors before, with values that no one expected from such a modern coin. Asterisk. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of nickels in 2000, so most people assume this coin is common. But here's where it gets exciting: this year produced some dramatic error varieties. One of the most famous is the 2000 Speared Bison type, a striking error where a die gouge appears to spear right through the buffalo design on the westward journey nickel. Those examples, when discovered, sent collectors into a frenzy, with prices skyrocketing into the thousands. Asterisk. For the regular 2000 nickel, condition plays a huge role. Most circulated pieces like the one here are worth face value, but high-grade mint state examples with full steps on Monticello can command shocking prices. In fact, a pristine 2000 with full steps sold for over $3,000 at auction, all because of strike sharpness and condition rarity. And when you add in major minting errors like off-center strikes, die caps, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, Suddenly, this ordinary nickel can leap into five-figure territory. Asterisk, the coin we're looking at is well-worn, with years of circulation eating away at its finer details. But even a coin in this condition shouldn't be dismissed too quickly. Some collectors prize error coins in any grade, and a dramatic enough mistake on a 2000p could still bring thousands even if it looks rough. And here's the real wow factor: this isn't ancient history. Coins like this are still turning up in pocket change today. Meaning you or I could pull a nickel like this from circulation and discover its worth as much as a rare gold piece. Asterisk, so the lesson is clear. Every nickel has a story. And even a 2000p, a coin most people overlook, could be hiding a fortune if it has the right combination of error and condition. That's the thrill of coin collecting. You never know which piece of pocket change is about to change your life.